Hello, everyone. Welcome to JHC and Friends. And I have my guest here, Sly, for this next episode of my series. Thank you for those of, if you're, I know there's, oh, it looks like somebody's watching live. Those of you who catch our recording, those of you who are on live, I welcome you to join us for a conversation to talk with Sly about his story. He has a background in cybersecurity and technology. But he's a business owner, an IT specialist, a systems engineer. He's a graduate, a Tallahassee native, and a graduate of FAMU. And he's a former systems engineer for many companies across Florida, including Home Depot and IBM. Awesome story right now. So I'm glad you can join us today, Sly.
Well, thank you for having me. It took you long enough. um, I am very glad to be here.
Thank you. Yeah. So let's start from the beginning. So what made you want to get into your profession?
Well, I don't know that I chose the profession as much as it chose me. My background as a student and college graduate was in economics and finance. Uh, that was my goal growing up. That's what I wanted to do. Life intervened. I started working and excuse me, gosh, this would have been shortly after college. And the evolution of the personal computer had just really started to make it into corporations and government, and being a Tallahassee native working for the state of Florida, I just kind of had a natural curiosity for it. I'd done a little bit of computer work, worked a little bit with computers and programming languages in college. Um, I had no idea that, my career would have taken a different track than what I had envisioned. But from that, started working in just basic PC technologies, learning how to play the thing. This was the era, in the late '80s, before there were even hard drives in the computers. So you had the old floppy disk. These things had a boot
I've
flop.
seen those.
Yes, you've seen those. I actually used to work on those. You booted from one floppy disk, and then you ran your program on another floppy disk, and then you popped it out to save the data. It was a disaster.
Oh
But
my goodness.
uh, then the first PC, I think that I worked on may have had like a 10 megabyte hard drive. Or the second one after the one with the dual floppies. But yeah, I mean, this is dinosaur age. Uh, but what happened in terms of the career pivot, the thing that happened, it was very fortuitous. I was in the right place at the right time. So as the technology trend in Silicon Valley blew up in the '80s, and everybody was getting into technology, I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. And oh yeah, I know how to use one of those things. And you start working on it. You started running programs on it, doing various spreadsheets and data analysis and statistics. I found out I had some aptitude for it. Um, then I started working and training other people and doing classes, coursework, and seminars on how to use computer systems and various things. Then the network came around, and then you started networking them. And I'm thinking, this is a pretty interesting career path, and lots of businesses are trying to adopt these new technologies. And of course, having been bitten on several occasions by the entrepreneurial bug, it just seemed like a natural extension. Um, Gosh, there we're probably in the late '80s, very early '90s, and then there's this thing called the World Wide Web evolved. And it just, so again, just a series of events that put me right at the forefront of evolving technologies. And it's like, 10, 15 years later, you're like, oh, yeah, I've got a pretty nice career at this thing.
Yeah.
Um, and then later, doing lots of freelance work with trial lawyers and associations here locally. And then pursuing that full time. And what took me into the world of big data was just as a solopreneur, not being able to scale and get bigger and stay profitable. That was the struggle. I did some self assessment. It's like, maybe I've got it wrong, and so I made a pivot, one of many. Um, and
Yeah.
what I've done is started to pursue work through agencies, basically become a permanent temp.
Mhm.
Um, and through that, I've had the opportunity to travel throughout the United States and work with all kinds of Fortune 500, 150 corporations. Done a lot of work, as you mentioned earlier, in the IBM global support divisions. I had to
Really
work.
cool.
Yeah, it was cool work. I mean, if you're going to be a system engineer, system administrator, build servers, work in data centers, 500 to 4,000 endpoints in terms of servers, not
Mm.
desktop, but just,
Yeah.
crossing multiple data centers. It was a great way to leverage the skill because smaller businesses have the same data, same technology as a larger company. The difference being is the scalability, the enormity
Mhm.
of the size. So if you can build 50 users, you can build 50,000 users, and learning how to adapt scripts and automated processes. It made for a fairly smooth transition. And then you have the epiphany that's like, you know what? I knew what the rates were. The people, oftentimes through the agencies that you work with, they're salespeople. They're not technology
Right.
people. I thought I was a better salesman and certainly a better technologist. So why am I giving you 60% of the rate? That was just talking to some like-minded professional friends, and we've certainly closed that gap. We started out working professionally, and now that we said, you know what, guys, we need to start a business. We need to do something together, and that was the nexus for iCollective. And the name, it's kind of a very clever play on words. It is, but it speaks to a technology company, a consulting company that's run by consultants for the benefit of consultants. Um, we have a fairly flat organization. Um, it just makes the rates and the margins are much better. We try to be the place that other people would want to work in terms of how we treat our vendors and employees. We don't really have any employees, but we do have a deck of subcontractors that we work with on a consistent basis. And we try to, some of those knowledge gaps that you find in some of the larger organizations. So we try to fill those. We know I've been a consultant, I've been a contract employee. I know the pitfalls, I know the pluses and the minuses, and we try to just be a better version of what we think the industry should represent. And that's kind of our core values. We always like to say we like to do good business with our consultants and our clients. And it works. It works.
Yeah.
It's scalable. It's manageable. It allows. I do most of the operations, not all of it, or the administrative stuff, I should say.
Mhm.
Um, but it's scalable and it's manageable. And as a strategy, we've opted not to grow the business faster or larger than our ability to manage it. And then, I don't desire necessarily to work in another Fortune 500 company. I have
Mhm.
no desire to be the head of a Fortune 500 company. Um, but it's a wonderful mid-tier opportunity, both in terms of the state and local government, but as far as our future growth aspirations with the federal government and again, kind of reinventing ourselves in the commercial space. But this time, instead of being the contracted resource, we're the actual agency, staffing, fulfillment, and it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it, um, and
That's great.
it makes for a very nice business.
Yeah, I think we have very similar philosophies on how we want our businesses to be run. Because I don't want to work for a large organization, and I did work for an agency, and it was not the best experience. So
Yeah,
we just tend to get overworked, and so
it's
what's
like,
nice.
you wake up one day in the basement of a data center facility halfway across the country, literally, that's no exaggeration, halfway across the country. Like, how the heck did I get here? And why? You know? um, and again, so just taking both some good experiences, but also some bad experiences, and just trying to craft a better platform for other people who are interested in pursuing careers in the IT world. We've probably our portfolio of clients at best has probably been three or four at any one given time, but that's enough that allows us to meet all our goals, and again to grow the business in a very managed, capacity. The company's
I
been,
like that.
it's been profitable since day one.
That's awesome.
Um, but I think sometimes you get into that hyper growth mindset
Mhm.
and it becomes a job again, and then you dread going to work. I love what I do. It's kind of the right place at this time of my life. The technology specter has always been very exciting, but the business development aspect of it, and that's kind of the thing that I've started to focus on in the last 2 years. It's just like a game of three-dimensional chess, and it's so much fun. It's not work anymore. It's a cliche, but if you do what you love, you're not really working. And I think for me, this iteration of my career would be the best example of that.
So how do you manage, and I like how it's almost like cautious growth, it's strategic growth.
Yes, very
People
much.
tend to get tempted with the shiny object syndrome and try so many things, you know? And I like how your approach is mature about it. And technology is so tempting.
I've had so many failures. We're talking about the good stuff now. But there have been some bumps along the road. But again, with that growth in the bright shiny objects come all kinds of other resource or other issues, the stresses and struggles of managing all of that, payroll, HR issues, and it's like, geez, I started the company because I didn't want to deal with all those things, and then 3 years in, you're like, damn, this is exactly the thing that I left. So it again, and I've got a number in mind, where basically at that point I'm just going to fire myself and bring in professional managers to run the business, and that would be my personal goal. And another year or two, I think we'll be there where I can comfortably uh, let go of those reins. I don't, by no means am I a micromanager, but from an operational standpoint, I found it very helpful to have micromanagers available to you. But I know my limits. I know how far I can take this thing, and then just the responsibility to the company and to my partners. It's like, okay, guys, we got to do something different, and we've got to do something different with someone else. And that's a day that I look forward to.
That's awesome. So, and for those of you who are watching, just in case you didn't know, Sly and I, and he, his name is Sylvester. I know I didn't say that probably earlier, Sylvester Thompson, but I know him as Sly. We met through Domi. What brought you to Domi? Like, I don't even know that part of your
Well,
story.
I was working from home and remote before it was a real thing, off and on for probably the better part of 20 years. Um, it's always been just a consultant's dreams. Like, I've always had fairly well appointed home offices. I love the mission. Um, so right now I'm at a point and I'm at Domi, as you can tell. Um, I leave the house to go to work just for quality of life and just kind of spacing and sanity issues. But again, the core mission of Domi and what it does, and being an incubator and a place where people can collaborate. As a technology guy, a little bit of a geek, a little bit. It just kind of speaks to my core. I got involved in, I want to say, 2018.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
um, and that obviously that was before COVID. And then again, I wound up working on a contractual obligation that took me out of town. Um, so I terminated my membership, but it's always had a place, a place
Me
very,
too. I've
yeah,
been in and out
yeah.
since.
And then the pandemic hit, and it's like, you know what? Even though everybody went home to work remotely, um, I went home and it's like, well, okay, I still have the. In fact, we negotiated our very first contract, very substantial contract and book of business here at Domi. Um,
Cool.
so it's I love the vibe. You
Me
come
too.
in, and it still hasn't completely recovered from the pandemic,
Yeah.
but it's getting there.
It's starting to pick up. I'm starting to see new people, new faces.
It's just cool. I mean, you get
Yeah,
like-minded people. It gives me an opportunity to get out of the house.
me too.
So it's just a fun place to be with really interesting people. You meet people, have good conversation. And again, participating or having participated in some of the economic, the development programs, the entrepreneurial programs. A graduate of Gear Up. Uh,
Yeah,
I did that program in 2020, right during the pandemic.
yeah.
Learned some very valuable things. Kind of further along than I realized, but at the same time, having the opportunity to work with and be mentored by experienced business owners, it's an invaluable lesson in getting those insights, especially for me, and being forced to deal with the things that I really don't like to deal with, the financials, and you know,
Me too.
yeah,
Same here.
it's like you've got to be an adult about this. Especially again, you've got other people involved in their livelihoods and their families. It's
Yeah.
the hyper growth thing again. Just it comes with a whole lot of responsibility, and with responsibility, there's certain pressures that that I just choose not to take those on right now at this point in my life. So bring in the professional managers, and that's the next benchmark for us. I think as a company, it's like that we basically kind of outgrow that entrepreneurial model,
Mhm.
become kind of a more mature adult, mature business. That's the goal. I think we're probably about 18 months to 24 months away from that. Um,
That's exciting.
it is.
Congratulations.
It's a lot of work. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work. It's one of the reasons I'm here at Domi, because it's a good halfway spot between my
Right.
destination, which is a client visit that I'm not looking forward to. So I mean, it's a good strategic place to be and to meet people. Uh,
Yeah.
I actually wish that I could participate and do more, but just
I mean, it's a good sign when your business is doing well that you don't have time. So, the design of Domi was made by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs, and you could see how it's smart for kind of like a temporary option for people to either start or even, like you said, a mid level or mid stepping point. Like for me, I hopped around. I had the desk, I had the small office, I had I'm back there in the corner there. And then even during my 4th child, like when I was pregnant with my 4th child, I had just opened a small office there and I was gonna, have a team there. And then I had to close it because unplanned, but then yeah, long story short, my 4th child came in the picture. And so I had to end my membership. But then COVID hit around the time when I got my new desk again back into and I had onboarded a whole team, but I still had that option to always go back, and I appreciated that relationship. There's always a supportive community. The
yeah,
team
it
is
is.
always
It just
supportive.
I was able I thought about Domi, gosh, I wanna say 2014, 2015, 2015, 2016, but
Yeah.
just the for me, the time just wasn't right then at the very beginning,
Mhm.
but always being an admirer from afar, and like I said, I just love the mission and what they're about, and it's just, I'm kind of the old
Stop.
guy,
No,
you know,
there's a few more now. There's a few new members that are you're
that are
not
more
just the
busy than I am. Oh, wow, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, yeah. We're all
Uh
booked up in the offices, and then you know how they're about to renovate. They're getting
Yeah,
ready
they've
to
been
renovate.
threatening me with renovation forever, you know. Um, but
So
even if and at some point, surely we will outgrow the space, but
right.
I would always for me, it would always be a a point of passion to always maintain those relationships because again, it's just a really, really good idea. Uh,
Yeah, no, I know. 'Cause I know there's other office spaces around town, and the vibe is very different. What I like is the location as well between both campuses,
it's
and
very
you can get
convenient.
interns to just come in so practically, you know?
Yeah, and as we start to scale up for the next growth cycle, again, there's a lot more pluses than minuses.
Yeah,
Um,
which is
and,
great.
the availability of meeting spaces and just, it's you really can't beat it. And it's just it makes for a very healthy balance in dealing with the well documented stresses of being an entrepreneur and business owner. So you need a counterbalance, and this is a good way to get rid of some of the toxins.
Right?
It's not always good on the entrepreneurial world. I mean, there's some days it's like, you got payroll issues, you got cash
Right?
issues, you've
Or
got
our clients late to paying, you
uh,
know?
all of that. Yeah. Yeah,
That's
all
the
of
stuff,
it.
the pain points that most people don't even realize if
Nobody
unless they
talks
run a
about that.
business.
Nobody
Yeah.
ever talks about it. And
And it
again,
gets lonely.
it does. That's again a big part of it. It's just the social
Yeah.
dynamic. I don't participate in First Fridays as much as I'd like to, and
Oh, it's okay.
that's that's just a time availability thing.
I know. For the
Uh,
longest time when I was a member, I did not participate in most of the evening stuff. I was like, I'm a parent. I'm the only one. I must be one of the oldest ones here, mostly students here. But I still, came around, just like,
yeah, and that's
yeah,
the thing. It's just and I hope in that it gets back to that pre-pandemic kind of energy level. Uh,
yeah.
it's better, but it's still different than what I knew initially.
hmm
Um,
Yeah, we're OGs here. We've seen transitions, but there's so much potential there, and like you, like I still want to for them to do really well. And as far as our businesses goes, like with iCollective, so you have a team of I'm guessing 4 or 5, I think I remember. And
there's
then
four principals in the company,
okay.
and last year we had one, two, three, probably at least as many subcontractors and we have the same pool of people on the team that we've worked with. And of course, we'd like to grow the team, but again, that's a function of securing more business. And that's one of the things that I spend a lot more of my time doing that than say building virtualized computing environments,
Are
which
you
is what
finding
I'm sorry.
are you finding that there's more demand for, obviously with the cybersecurity issues that are happening, you have to like include that as part of your services and
It is becoming a more, a lot of our clients have various, for lack of a better, easy way to say it,
mhm,
regulatory concerns.
mm,
So compliance is a big thing. It's becoming a bigger thing. And I come from a world. I worked several uh, opportunities to work with energy companies, utilities, public sector utilities, which of course is perhaps the most regulated industry in the world, certainly
wow,
here in the United States, other than maybe public transportation. But so the cybersecurity being on the critical infrastructure being, and those are just like the bright, shiny targets for all the bad actors out
Mhm.
there. So the compliance, the cybersecurity, um, that is becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger part of our service offering. Um,
Cool.
in terms of the public sector, that's probably one of the hyper growth uh,
Mhm.
areas. So we
You
kind
could probably is raising funds in part of the plan
no,
eventually
no, no.
on
Um,
natural growth?
and it's again, it's we've been very fortunate in that we've not had to, and we've had the opportunity to do various pitch events and
Mhm.
put ourselves out there. But all of our growth has been in internal. We've got
Word of
pretty
mouth?
yeah, and again, that's by design.
Yeah.
Intentionally fly. Well, it took us about a year to figure out exactly what it is that who we really were as a company, and what is it that we wanted to represent. Um, and it sounds like an easy thing to do. Internally, we have this the saying. It's like, who and what are we going to be when we grow up? I think certainly for technology companies, that's you don't get that question answered right off the bat. It takes time. You got to
Yeah.
figure, okay, are we going to get in the growth model? Is this going to be a really nice lifestyle business to supplement some of the other things that we're doing? Do we want to scale it? Do we want to get on that accelerated treadmill for growth? And it takes them a while to figure that out. I don't know that any business owner has that answer right off the bat, yet alone.
Yeah. It's taken me a little bit too, and it's been 8 years.
And that
But
that is my client calling me.
which
Oh
is a good time to, conclude then, because
yeah,
I like I promised, and I want people to be able to find you if you're okay with that. Not that you'll get,
absolutely.
like, tons of calls or anything, but, go visit his website, iCollectiveLLC.com.
LLC.com. Yes,
Yeah.
there's a French Canadian company that has the domain, and they refuse to give it to me.
Oh,
Uh,
no.
they refuse to even sell it to me. Uh,
What?
yeah, so we had to tack the LLC on there at the end as a to distinguish ourselves. Um, but yes, we also have a probably not as active as it should be LinkedIn company profile page that
Okay.
supplements our website very well. In fact, you're more apt to get articles articles, commentary around the areas of cybersecurity more so there than from our website. We maintain the website because that's part of our contractual obligations with certain federal agencies. You got to have a web presence. Man,
Mhm.
okay, I'll satisfy that. But if you just want a day in the life, potential job opportunities, all of those things will be, all those relevant details will be on our LinkedIn corporate profile page.
And that's probably the best place to do it, honestly, so you don't
That's
have to
one of the
worry
ways.
too
I
much.
mean, I kind of live in that part of the internet, and also too, we have some paid consultants that help us leverage that from a marketing and branding
Yeah.
standpoint. So that's one area that we pay a lot of attention to. Um, so that would be the easiest way to find me, as I've deplatformed most of my other social media.
That was smart. Especially with
It was just, you know what, this is just not a healthy place.
no, it's not, you're right. It
Uh,
is a waste of time.
it can be. Yeah, time is very valuable. um,
Yes, exactly. Speaking of which I wanna respect your time, and I wanted to thank you very much for joining us today for this call, and it's really I'm glad we don't really get to talk much. I know you and I, like, have different
just give
schedules. Always still happy to see you around Domi. Appreciate your energy there, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julia. And I look forward to going back and looking at this on the internet. So I am definitely going to follow up with you. Okay.
Yes, okay. Everyone, thank you for watching.
Have a good
Bye.
day. Bye bye.